Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our channel, U.S. Immigration News. We hope you're doing great. Well, in today's video, we will be talking about breaking good news. Biden parole program, border security, deportations, USCIS, updates more. Recent updates in immigration policy are making headlines. USCIS has introduced a new filing video to keep families together. Massachusetts courts are seeing record deportations. Kamala Harris is taking a tough stance on border security, and Biden's plan for undocumented spouses could reshape both lives and the election. If you're interested in this, so to get all the information, pay attention and watch the video through to the end. Please hit like and subscribe. And don't forget to push the notification bell for an upcoming video. So, without any further delay, let's jump into the video. On August 19, USCIS will begin accepting requests for using a new electronic form. Form I-130-1F, application for parole in place for certain non-citizen spouses and stepchildren of us citizens. Form I-130-1A will not be available on USCIS. Gov until August 19. USCIS is not accepting any other form for keeping families together. Do not file a request for parole. Process before Aug 19, 2024. We are publishing a filing video for Form I-131 on the Keeping Families Together webpage. This video will help individuals as they prepare to file a request for parole in place through the online process. We have also updated the key questions and answers about the process on the Keeping Families Together webpage. More information about Keeping Families Together will be made available in a Federal Register notice in the coming days. Form I-131F will only be available to file online. Each requester, including minors, must file a separate Form I-131F, and each requester must have their own USCIS online account, including minors' information on creating a USCIS online account. It's available on the How to Create a USCIS Online Account webpage. There's no paper form for this process. Protect yourself from immigration scams. We do not want you to become the victim of an immigration scam. If you need legal advice on immigration matters, make sure the person helping you is authorized to give legal advice. Only an attorney admitted to practice law in the United States or an accredited representative working for a Department of Justice recognized organization can give you legal advice on immigration matters. Be aware of individuals who guarantee outcomes. Applications are reviewed on a case-by-case basis by USCIS. Visit the Avoid Scams webpage for information and resources. Some common scams to be aware of include government impersonators. Look out for individuals who pretend to be USCIS officials. USCIS will only contact you through official government channels and will not contact you through your personal social media accounts, such as Facebook, X, LinkedIn, etc. Scam websites. Some websites claim to be affiliated with USCIS and offer step-by-step guidance on completing a USCIS application or petition. Make sure your information is from USCIS, Gov or DH. Gov or is affiliated with US. Payments by phone or email. We will never ask you to transfer money to an individual. We do not accept Western Union, MoneyGram, PayPal, or gift cards as payment for immigration fees. In addition, we will never ask you to pay fees to a person on the phone or by email. Notarios publicos and unauthorized practitioners of immigration law. In the United States, a notario publico is not authorized to provide you with any legal services related to immigration benefits. Only an attorney admitted to practice law in the United States or an accredited representative working for a Department of Justice recognized organization can give you legal advice on immigration matters. For more information about finding legal services, visit our website. Massachusetts immigration courts seeing record number of deportations. Federal immigration authorities are on pace to file a record number of deportation cases this year in Massachusetts. The statistics, released by the Transactional Records Access Clearinghouse at Syracuse University, come as thousands of migrants face an uncertain future in the Commonwealth. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security filed more than 44,000 new deportation cases in Massachusetts immigration courts through the first 9 months of the 2024 federal fiscal year. Data from the Immigration Research Center shows the number of filings could reach almost 59,000 by the end of the fiscal year, which concludes on September 30th. That compares to more than 54,000 cases last federal fiscal year, the largest number of new filings in Massachusetts since 2001. The record number of deportation cases in Massachusetts echoes a nationwide trend in deportation cases. According to the data, U.S. immigration courts saw a more than 300% increase from fiscal year 2018 to fiscal year 2023. The U.S. government has decided to place everyone who crosses the border in deportation proceedings. "That's a choice, we don't have to do that," said Sarah Sherman, Stokes with the Immigrants' Rights Human Trafficking Program at Buzz School of Law. Hundreds of thousands of migrants have entered the United States through parole programs with federal authorization that's only temporary and may still have to face a deportation case down on the line. Many of the migrants in Massachusetts are claiming protection. They're claiming asylum and related forms of relief because they're not safe in their home countries, explained Sherman. Stokes. Stokes said the backlog of more than 150,000 cases congesting Massachusetts immigration courts is telling of the drawn-out uncertainty that many migrants are facing. "We are not surprised that cases are going up in Massachusetts just because we enact policies intended to deter migrants. But doesn't mean that they're going to stop coming," she added. An influx of incoming migrants stretched the Massachusetts shelter system beyond its limits in recent years. The eviction of dozens of migrant families from the state's temporary respite centers was slated to begin last Friday after the state's new 5-day limit took effect. The state issued 57 eviction notices to families staying at overflow shelters in Chelsea, Norfolk, Cambridge, and Lexington. A state spokesperson told Boston 25 News that only 11 of those families left those shelters by the deadline. Kamala Harris talks tough on border security to take on Donald Trump. US Vice President Kamala Harris is toughening her position on illegal immigration, taking on hardliner Donald Trump on his signature issue in a series of campaign events and digital ads in coming weeks, according to campaign staff. The campaign plans to promote Harris's support for a bipartisan border security bill, defeated in the Senate in February after Trump came out against it. That would have increased funding for border agents and detention facilities. An official said, Harris' more combative approach to immigration is expected to be on display as she campaigns around the country with her running mate Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota, who was chosen in part for his appeal to voters in America's heartland. Harris will also highlight Trump's most divisive actions, such as his 2018 policy that separated thousands of migrant families at the U.S., Mexico border, and an executive order in 2017 that sought to ban travel from certain Muslim-majority countries. A version of the ban was upheld by the Supreme Court. A year later, a campaign official said Harris had a chance to reintroduce herself to voters after becoming the Democratic presidential candidate following President Joe Biden's exit from the race last month. It's all part of a larger effort by Harris to be direct and to go directly at Trump, said Matt Barreto, a pollster who has worked with the Harris and Biden campaigns' Democrats. Always do well when they lean in on the immigration issue and don't run away from it. The enforcement. First position is a departure from Biden's 2020 campaign when he pledged a more humane approach to immigration than Trump-Biden gradually hardened his approach as illegal crossings increased. The Trump campaign has sought to blame Harris for illegal immigration, dubbing her a failed border czar, though her portfolio was focused on the drivers of migration from Central America. If dangerously liberal Kamala is president, our border will remain wide open to terrorists and criminals from around the world who will face no consequence for committing heinous migrant crimes, Trump campaign spokesperson Caroline Leavitt said in a statement when asked about Harris' record. Harris touts prosecution record. Harris began setting out her new, more combative strategy in a speech in Atlanta last week, criticizing Trump for helping to sink the border security bill. She also touted her record on border-related prosecutions. As California Attorney General, I went after transnational gangs, drug cartels, and human traffickers that came into our country illegally. She said we prosecuted them in case after case, and we won. Harris has made the border security bill a centerpiece of her platform, and a digital campaign ad has cast the election as a choice between the one who will fix our broken immigration system and the one who's trying to stop her. Jeffrey Jarman, a Wichita State University professor who focuses on political communication, said Harris's pushback was a way to avoid ceding the issue of border security to Republicans. Failure to talk about the issue allows Republicans to completely dominate the discussion and frame her in the most unflattering way. But he acknowledged that going on the offensive is unlikely to win over Republican voters, and that Harris risked getting sidetracked on issues that are not as important to her supporters. Candidates who spend too much time talking about the issues of their opponent will always face a more difficult time winning the election. Numerous polls suggest voters have grown more concerned with high levels of illegal immigration under Biden in a Reuters Ipsos poll in May. Some 45% of registered voters said immigration has made life harder for Native-born Americans. Illegal crossings have plummeted since Biden issued new restrictions on asylum at the border in June. A memo published on Friday by the advocacy group Immigration Hub argued that Harris could energize voters if she pairs her enforcement record with protections for immigrants already in the U.S. illegally, citing polling for 7 battleground states. Harris played a key role in the Biden administration's announcement in June that it would provide a path to citizenship to spouses of immigrants in the U.S. illegally, as previously reported. Trump has promised to launch mass deportations if re-elected. Ken Budge, the Democratic mayor of the 5,000-person border city of Bisbee, Arizona, said high illegal crossings in recent years have at times made it challenging to provide necessities to migrants as they pass through. He said the Harris campaign wanted to solve the border problem. They don't want to just kick the can down the road. Tom Suozzi, a New York Democrat who won a special election to Congress in February by taking a tough stand on the border, said a member of Harris' team texted him a link to her social media ad on immigration last week, saying they thought he would like it. A lot of my consultants and a lot of political people were saying, "What are you talking about immigration for? It's a Republican issue," Suozzi said in an interview. "We said, no, it's an American issue. It's what people are talking about." Biden's immigration plan for undocumented spouses could transform lives and the election. 60,000 immigrants married to U.S. citizens and eligible for the Parole in Place program live in swing states. People are paying attention, one community activist said. Rodrigo de la Rosa was only 5 years old when he crossed the U.S. Mexico border with his father and 3 brothers. Growing up in South Phoenix, he had what he calls just a regular American life until, as a teenager, he learned he was undocumented when you turn 16 and you can't get a regular job. That's when you realize. In his mid-20s, De La Rosa married Ashley de Alba, who was born and raised in California by Mexican and Salvadoran parents. However, marrying a U.S. citizen was not enough to fix his immigration status. He could apply for a green card, but would need to leave the country first and risk getting stuck in Mexico for a decade, or even permanently. That changed Monday when the federal government began accepting applications for a sweeping new Biden administration program, allowing undocumented spouses of American citizens to apply to regularize their status without leaving the U.S. The White House estimates the program applies to 500,000 immigrants across the country, as well as to an additional 50,000 of their children, the stepchildren of their American citizen spouses. To qualify, applicants must have been married to a U.S. citizen before June 17, when the program was first announced, not have a disqualifying criminal history, which includes all felonies and several other crimes, such as domestic violence and most drug offenses, and prove they have lived continuously in the United States for at least 10 years. The government estimates the average is more than 2 decades. Those whose applications are approved will be granted a form of legal relief known as parole in place, which protects them from deportation and allows them to apply for work permits, green cards, and eventually citizenship. This has the potential to fundamentally transform the lives of millions. We would be able to do the things that we want to do, said Ashley de Alba. De La Rosa's wife, we have a lot of high goals to reach. If De La Rosa were to get his papers, the list of ways it would change their life is long. De Alba is 7 months pregnant with their first child, a girl, while De La Rosa has mostly been working painting houses and building scaffolding for stucco crews. He got good grades in school and has a passion for photography and media. A work permit and a green card would allow him to get steadier, safer work with insurance and retirement benefits. It would allow me to provide for my family better and to have the career that I want. De La Rosa said it would also clear away pesky but meaningful obstacles to the bureaucratic aspects of married life, such as joint bank accounts and home ownership. It would free De La Rosa to travel internationally without worrying about how to get back into the U.S., including to Mexico, to see his older brothers and the nieces and nephews he's never met, and it would allow De La Rosa and de Alba to have the wedding of her dreams in Mexico, a big Mexican wedding like a fancy Jalisco-style wedding, de Alba said. In swing states, paying attention. In a swing state like Arizona, the Parole in Place program also has the potential to meaningfully move the needle. In November's presidential election, de Alba voted for Donald Trump. In 2020, she said she admires his business acumen, believes the economy was in better shape when he was in office, and appreciates the fact that he's not afraid to speak his mind. She was prepared to vote for him again in November, but now she's undecided. Biden's administration is the one that put this in place, so I'm very grateful for that. De Alba said the fact that Joe Biden himself dropped out of the race increased her interest in the Democratic ticket, though she doesn't yet know enough about Vice President Kamala Harris to have finalized her decision. We want to see how permanent this is, de Alba said. Is this just a ploy for votes? Or is this something that they're taking seriously and going to follow through with? According to FUDIS, a pro-immigration group that advocated for the program, Arizona has some 15,000 people eligible for parole in place, though they can't vote. They are all married to U.S. citizens who can and are otherwise embedded in families and communities, full of citizens who will benefit indirectly from the policy. Considering that Biden won Arizona in 2020 with 10,457 votes, and considering that polling shows razor-thin margins between Harris and Trump, the political impact of the Parole in Place program could be decisive. Erica Castro, an undocumented community organizer with the Progressive Leadership Alliance of Nevada, another swing state with a large and long-settled immigrant population, said the Parole in Place program has helped energize Latino voters. People are paying attention. They want to know what candidates are doing to improve their quality of life. And this is something that makes them feel like their vote is taken seriously. Some 60,000 immigrants eligible for Parole in Place live in swing states, according to the estimates from FUD. One of them is Fede Toure, who lives in Philadelphia with his wife and young child Toure, a member of American Families United. A nonprofit group that lobbied for the executive action was brought to the U.S. from Sierra Leone as a child, and now works as a prosecutor for the office of the Philadelphia District Attorney. He says his wife, who is from New Jersey, plans to vote for Harris in November exclusively because of the program. We are a single-issue household, and that issue is immigration. Teray said my wife and her entire family were never going to vote. They're going to vote now because they realize somebody they love will benefit from this program. As consequential as DEAC, they also facing challenges. Immigrant rights advocates describe parole in place as the largest and most consequential form of relief for undocumented immigrants since 2012's Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, or DACA. The Obama administration's program offering work, permits and protection from deportation to immigrants brought to the U.S. as children many who are applying for parole in place are or were at one point DACA recipients, including De La Rosa and Teray like DEACA. Parole in place was instituted by way of executive action from the president, which makes the program inherently precarious. Republicans have strongly condemned the program, with Trump calling it mass amnesty on Truth Social and Seen Josh Hawley, calling it lawless and outrageous on Fox News America, First Legal. The legal organization led by Stephen Miller, the architect of many of Trump's immigration policies, promised to challenge the program in court, and a future Trump administration would almost certainly rescind it. The possibility of a Trump victory also gives some lawyers and advocates pause when it comes to encouraging people to apply for the program, although many potential applicants, including those with DACA status, are already on the federal government's radar. Those who aren't may not want to turn over large amounts of personal information to a government that may soon be run by a candidate who has promised indiscriminate mass deportations. I think people need to tread carefully and file an application only after understanding all the risks and potential roadblocks, said Mo Goldman, an immigration lawyer in Arizona. But for those families who are set on applying, the program has the potential to rectify what they view as a long-standing injustice. D'Alba points out that her husband has spent his entire adult life working and paying taxes in the U.S. yet is excluded from many of the advantages she has access to. Why? Just because we were born here. We could have been born in Mexico too, but just because we were born here, we can do all these things that make my life a lot easier. That makes no sense. She said we just want him to have the same opportunities that we have. These key developments highlight the evolving immigration landscape with new guidelines, increased deportations, and significant policy proposals shaping the future for many and impacting the political scene. That is all for today in this video. What are your thoughts on this? Please let us know in the comments section below. Thanks for watching the entire video. Hopefully, the information is useful to you. See you later in the next video. Till then, take care.
Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel US Immigration News. We hope you're doing great. Well, in today's video, we'll be talking about breaking good news, Biden parole program, border security, deportation, USCIS updates and more. On August 19, USCIS will start accepting applications for Form I-131F, a new electronic process for parole in place for certain non-citizen spouses and stepchildren of US citizens. This form will be available only online with no paper version offered. Each applicant, including minors, must file individually through their own USCIS online account. To aid in the filing process, USCIS will provide a guide video and update the key questions and answers on their Keeping Families Together webpage. The new program aims to help families remain united by providing a path to legal status without the need for the applicant to leave the US. In Massachusetts, immigration courts are experiencing a record number of deportation cases. Through the first 9 months of 2024, over 44,000 new cases have been filed, potentially reaching nearly 59,000 by September 30. This surge is part of a broader national trend and reflects a significant increase in deportation proceedings compared to previous years. The backlog in Massachusetts courts has caused considerable uncertainty for many migrants, some of whom are seeking asylum or other forms of relief. Vice President Kamala Harris is taking a tough stance on border security, aiming to counter former President Donald Trump's policies. Her campaign highlights support for a border security bill that failed in the Senate earlier this year and criticizes Trump's past action on immigration. Harris' strategy includes emphasizing her record on border-related prosecutions and contrasting her approach with Trump's, who has promised mass deportation if re-elected. Additionally, President Biden's new immigration plan for undocumented spouses of US citizens could have a significant impact. The program, which started accepting applications recently, allowing eligible individuals to regularize their status without leaving the US. This move could influence the upcoming election, particularly in the swing states where many eligible immigrants live. Critics argue that, like DACA, this executive action could face legal challenges or be reversed by the future administration. Nevertheless, the program represents a major step toward addressing long-standing immigration issues and could substantially benefit affected families.